Hey, good morning, guys. Goose here. Welcome to STN Stock Talk with Ricky and myself. Pretty pumped up to see what we have today, guys. Should be a fun day. Hopefully, you guys have checked us out over at stocktraders.net. We have a free trading floor over there. A lot of cool widgets. We got an amazing contest that's going to be shooting off very soon called Tron. Get to cruise around in the supercar with Monaco Trader for the winner. An amazing award, I think, up in Scotland or so. But we got so much going on over there, and we do have a free trading floor. So anything that we're covering, guys, in here, we encourage you to join the free side. Get to know the community. Ask us any questions. Shoot any of the instructors a message. We're happy to help you out. Also, just want to say that anything that we're covering every day that we come in, it is not a recommendation or anything like that. We're just covering a couple ideas and thoughts on some of the moving names or some of the ones that we like set up on the daily. And, it's not a solicitation. Please read the disclaimer that's up on the screen, also in the description area. That's pretty much it I'm going to cover. So I'm going to turn this over to Ricky. I'm anxious to hear what he has to say about your meet there, Ricky. What do you got going on?
Good morning, guys. It's Ricky Analog here. Thanks a lot, Goose. Big things popping over at stocktraders.net. Don't sleep on that. Get over there, sign up. Everyone, do me a big favor, please. Share this broadcast, put it on Twitter, thumbs up, and then come over to stocktraders.net and DM us or put it in the main chat. Let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. We're always looking for ways to improve, and there's no such thing as negative feedback. I just want to know what y'all think. That being said, let's get straight into it, guys. Goose wants to know what's up with the meat. Actually, we're going straight into CUR, C-U-R. Let's see, 15 million OS, 12.5 million float. They got a ton of warrants at $2. They have Series A convertibles at $325. I want to point out, you'll see this huge drop back here in late July last year. That was them telling you that their phase 2 data did not meet primary endpoints and plummeted. Then 5 months later or so, they data mined it and found there was actually some useful data in there, and voila, 50 million shares later and closing at highs, you had a huge run that was just completely unjustified. And I really would have thought that those guys would have converted their $2 warrants in this run. But if you look at their latest 10K, they did not. They're still holding them. So I actually think this run probably will get stuffed a little early, but I would like to see 250 or higher before we start in. I'm very bearish on this. I don't think it's going anywhere, even though the news that it's popping on is not in respects to the drug that failed back here in July. It's a different drug. It's about surgeries on spinal cords involving stem cells. So stem cells is a hot subject, hot sector. Let's see what kind of legs it can get. But I'm not going to be long on this, guys. I think there's a lot of overhead supply, and it may be getting unloaded today. So we'll see how that plays out. The next thing we're talking about is the meat. Bring the meat on. All right. Let's see. These are actually old lines on this chart. Sorry about that. Didn't realize they were on there. Let's get into it. 72 million OS. 37 million shares are held by funds. Now, if you look at their latest 10K, it would have you think that they're actually cash flow positive, but they aren't. There was a $56 million write-down to their operating expenses due to impairment of goodwill, which is things such as like brand awareness or brand loyalty or customer loyalty. Now, you explain to me how $56 million of damage being done to that thing is a good thing. It's a red flag if you ask me. And if you take that out of there, they're actually burning about $2 million a month. So they have 25 million cash. It's not like they're hurting for it at this very, very moment. But I do think that this is being a day 2 move. Push up to 3 and I'm going to get interested. But I would actually really like to see a day 3 on it. But we got to take what the market gives you. And me and Goose were talking about this earlier. When you have something like Elfin happen where longs get bagged hard, it makes it really easy for shorts to kind of get comfortable because they know longs are very, very timid. I'm not trying to long trash, not in this market, not knowing you just had a T12 that who knows when it's going to unhalt, right? So have that in mind when you're analyzing the overall sentiment of the market, guys. Next thing on my list is KPTI. Now, if you look at this yearly chart, the long term, the 1 year, you'll see it actually looks a lot like SPPI. So you have the 20 crossing over to 50, pushing down, and now we have a bit of a gap up. So why would I cover KPTI and not cover SPPI? I just want to point out, guys, when I'm making these lists, we're always looking for the lowest hanging fruit. SPPI has plenty of reasons why it's not as easy of a short as KPTI. So let's get into the gist of it. 50 million OS, 46 million shares are held by institutions. Now, usually I'm not very happy when I see huge institutional holdership of something like that. But when you PR something like FDA Fast Track and you see the overall chart like this, you have to think a lot of these institutions might be feeling a bit bagged. So if you're an institution and you're holding a ton of shares, you might be using this as your fast track to get out. That's how I would look at it. They should only have about 6 months cash remaining, maybe more like 7.5 if you include the recent sale of a drug to Biogen. They got, I think, 10 million upfront payment. They burn about 6 million a month, guys. If this thing shoves to 14.5, like right up into this 50-day, 20-day, I will be looking to get in short. Now, it's not up that much, so you might think it's not that juicy, but I just think that there's a lot of overhead supply, guys. That's everything for me. I want to hand it over to Goose, but before I do that, I want to point out this guy's been on fire lately, and I may be hitting these small caps, but to do what I do is almost a gimme because most of the things I cover are turds. And so, like, if I sit here and say, yeah, it's a short, it's a lot easier to be accurate saying something that's a micro cap turd is a short than it is to be calling these things like Goose is. But you can only lead a horse to water, guys. I'm telling you. Listen up when this guy talks. Take it away, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And we were just chatting a little bit, guys, earlier because I kind of think a little bit differently. Is that the work that Ricky puts into these things is honestly amazing, and I think there's so much value in it, and it makes it so much easier to trade these things. But there's a lot of work that puts into it. So don't take it for granted, all the stuff he's putting in, just because we find out there's a shelf and all this, outstanding and all these different things. And it takes a lot of work to do that. So great job with Ricky. And I think that's where the hard part is. And I got to admit, it makes me smile a little bit when I hear Ricky Analog, meat, and short all in the same sentence. That kind of makes me smile a little.
And I didn't even talk about dicks.
Nice. Also, guys, I love the CUR idea, CUR, but I'm not even going to entertain it unless it gets in the mid-2s. And KPTI, we were chatting about that too. I'm also licking my chops. God forbid that gets up in those 14s. I'm going to be all over it as well. I'm just going to give you a couple today that I'm looking at, and I want to talk about. I know I mentioned Watt. We talked about it from the long idea down here off the 200-day the other day. Obviously, I didn't expect news to pop it up to 22, but heck of a great move on this one. But now I'm looking at it a little bit differently. As you guys could see, I was talking to the room this morning. It had a couple weeks here where it really was trying to push through this $23 level. And I was really closely watching the action because this is a nice setup for me when it's hugging this 20 and looks like it wants to break out. And with the market and everything else, it just finally broke down. And I'm telling you, they were feeding every push up into this $23 level. Now, there's two parts of this that I want to say. So that's going to be my area of interest initially on a morning push up to the 22, 23. I'm going to look for that, lower high on this thing and look ready to pounce. But I definitely want to be patient and look for that, that backside move. I don't need to be the first one in. I don't need to be the first red candle. I'll let it test, a level a couple times, and then I'll jump in because I think there's a lot of room on this. It's already up $4 this morning. So I got to encourage you guys to be really patient because this has a history of squeezing. You guys saw what it did over here, had a big move and followed up with a giant squeeze move there. So there's no reason to be first in on this name, but I think there's a huge trade set up on it. I've already gotten a borrow over at Vision. I'm not sure who else has it. I heard it was not available at a couple of places this morning, but I definitely, I'm ready to pounce on this one. So, WATT, I really like the short idea, but I want to be patient, want to be at the right levels. And if it doesn't make it up to 23, that's okay. I'm still looking for a fade. I just don't want to be first in on that. I want to make sure I make that clear because this has squeezed in the past. We'll trade the market action on it. My little curveball for you guys, and this is kind of a funny one that I'm going to talk about, is GCAP. And this is one I followed for a little bit, and a lot of these moves have been stuffed on this name. But there's one thing that's happening, and it's happened on the XNet, it's happened on REN, it's happened on what was that, a watt, but when we traded that one, where I see these type of setups on the daily, and I try to get in there before that big volume push. If you actually look back, you know, on XNet before it started picking up, you know, we were talking about it right here on the 200-day. We covered it, and this is kind of what happened. So you know, going back to GCAP, what I'm seeing on this is closing above the 50, the 200, and the 20-day. Those are huge numbers for me. Now, the only thing that's not there is this pivot right here, which I would have loved to see close over to 730, 740s. So I'm not sure today is going to be the day that I get a little push on it, but I have no problem being in first. I have no problems that if it wants to close 730, 740, and I have a great entry, swinging it for the next day for that push back up into this 8 to 850 area. I think there's really nice risk reward. I'm going to use a clear risk off this thing down through 680. You guys could see that this is a really 690 was the low from 2 days ago. But right here, you have the 20-day. You got a low from a couple days prior. Actually, going back 3 days, it's held above 680. So I have very defined risk on this thing. If I could pick it up in the low sevens here for a gear and push through the pivot, push through 750 on its way, hopefully up into the mid eights. So that's what I'm looking at. That's all I have for you guys today. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Meatman over there, and you guys let's have a great day today. Back to you, Ricky.
Thanks a lot, Goose. And he reminded me when he was talking about shelves. I just remembered, guys, there is an active shelf on KPTI for 250 million, and they also have a 75 million ATM with Cantor. So take it for what it's worth. Go out there, make a plan. Because why? Because if you don't have a plan, you don't have a trade. Come over to StockTraders.net and get yourself a plan. Make sure you stay safe out there. Protect that capital, guys. Let's go out there and crush it. Peace.